Now, one of the coolest things about fly tying is if there's a really popular, successful pattern, it might spawn all kinds of variants. And some of these variants can be just as fun and effective as the original. So I'm about to tie a variant of one of the most iconic flies ever created. Stick around. Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm Matt, thanks for stopping by. So the iconic fly I'm talking about is the Royal Coachman dry fly. And I saw this variant in the Federation of Fly Fishers Pattern Encyclopedia. Now it was tied by Cliff Stringer in the book, but I couldn't tell who created the fly, and there wasn't any information online about this fly called the Black Coachman. So I'm taking it just as one other run-of-the-mill variant of a Royal Coachman. And the only difference is where the Royal Coachman has a red band and then a brown hackle, this one has a black band and a black hackle. And there's not a whole lot of materials. It's not a real difficult fly to tie, but if done right, it can be a really elegant looking pattern. And it's pretty fun with a tie. I think you're gonna like it. Let's give it a shot. So there's one in the vise, a Black Coachman. Now it's a pretty simple pattern, but I think it's kind of elegant looking. And the Pattern Encyclopedia says tied on a 12 or 14. So I'm gonna go with the 12. It's a barbless 1X long dry fly hook. And black thread. I'm gonna put a base down to the start of the bend. This thing's pointing down a little bit. Let's get that a little bit straighter in our hook if we can. Sorry for that delay. Okay, now you have some options. A lot of folks will tie their Coachmans with the wing first, but I think tying the tail first is easier. And I'm gonna use Lady Amherst pheasant tippets. If you don't have Lady Amherst, just use golden pheasant tippet. So I've got one little feather right here. And what I'll do, I'll just grab about, I want to say 10 or 12. And measure your length right here. So not too long, but I'm gonna go a little bit longer than a hook gap. So let's put a couple wraps here and then check that position. Okay, I think that's gonna be fine right there. Let's catch it down to the back. And if you want, go ahead and put a wrap under it. I don't think we need to. These are sticking pretty much straight out. I'm just going to loose wraps, take it all the way up here to about a third of the way behind where I'm gonna tie in the wing. And the wings for this guy, just a natural or gray duck quill. Couple of slips from a left and right matching pair there. I'll put them back to back so they kind of splay out on me, and that's how I'm going to have them tied in right there. But here's the trick for these Coachman style and upright duck slip wings. Catch it in going forward. So I'm going to grab it right here and then imagine flipping that up. I think that's just a little bit long, so let's shorten it right there. Okay, I think that will work. Now I'm pinching the feathers and the hook at the same time. I'll put a loose wrap on right there and then just kind of pull it up. And these are getting a little bit crazy on me, but I think we're gonna be fine. Let's see if we prop those up. Are they gonna be the right length? Yeah, I think we'll be good. Okay, so a medium wrap or two right here going back, and now I can put some tighter wraps without this spinning around on me. And we want to trim the back of these off. Let's try to get it at an angle if we can so we can get a little better taper. And I've got a nick in my thread, it looks like. So if that happens to you, what you might want to do, and this happens, more than I'd like, I'm going to spend a few extra wraps. And I can get away with doing this because we have a fairly thick body. So I just put some extra wraps right there, and now I've got my thread back to where it's, pretty clean. Okay, so I've got my thread almost back to the tail, and I'm gonna catch in 2 strands of peacock herl. So I've already broken off the first couple of inches of the really brittle stuff. I'll just catch this in all the way back to the tail right here. Watch the point of your hook. Okay. And I'm going to take my thread back up, just to about where I'm going to, that's a little too far, where I want the front part of this rear bump to be. So maybe 5 or 6 wraps of this peacock herl right back here. Okay, now let's catch this off with a couple wraps, and I should have caught it off on the top because I will tell you why. And then you can just kind of lay your peacock herl up forward. You could snip it off right here if you wanted, and then tie it in again when we do the front part, but it's just as easy to leave it, I think. I say it is, and then I'm making a mess of it. But okay, so take your thread and catch this peacock herl in to about where we're going to wrap the front part of this body. Now we just want to catch in some floss. As with the regular Royal Coachman, you'd be catching in, your red floss here. We're going to catch in some black. So let's see, I got a wrap right there, pull it a little bit shorter, and now I'm just going to wrap this back right here. Okay. Take my thread back up front. Now I'm going to wrap this middle part of the body. And you don't have to put this on thick, especially since we've got black floss underneath. What it's really doing is just giving us a little break between the two peacock herl segments and adding a little bit of shine to it. So get it smooth if you can. You got a little bit of the lump in mind, but you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to catch it off right here. Now we'll snip this floss. And I'm going to take my thread right back behind those wings, which we're going to prop up in just a minute anyway. So another 4 or 5 wraps of the peacock herl. Okay, let's snip this excess off. Now, before I catch in that brown or the black hackle, I'm just going to prop this up with a few wraps right there. Okay, now my wings are propped up, and what you might want to do also is put a figure 8 or a couple X wraps in between them just to stand them out a little bit so we can get a little bit of separation right there. I don't think this is all that vital, but if you want to do it, now would be a good time to do it. Okay. So there's my wings. They are spread about like I want. Now the next thing we're going to catch in is some black hackle. And again, if this was the Royal Coachman, we'd be catching in a brown, but this is the black variant of it. So I'm going to catch this black dry fly hackle right behind the wings, and then I will take a few wraps up forward before I snip the excess off right here. And if your wings aren't to your liking, you can use this hackle that we wrap it to try and stand them up. Now this is a bit of an oversized hackle, and I'm partly doing that by design because I kind of like a big hackle on these Coachman type flies, but also it's because this is not a great dry fly hackle. This is not from an expensive whiting cape, so I kind of have to go with this little bit bigger stuff right here. And I'm going to put, 2 or 3 wraps behind it, and then probably 3 or 4 up in front of it. And you can leave a little bit of bare hook showing up there. Lots of these old, a Coachman is not exactly a Catskill style fly, but you'll see a lot of Coachmans tied with that bare stem, or not stem, but bare little bit of hook shank up front. But again, not that important. Okay, so I think that's enough hackle on it right there. Let's just pull this back and then try to flatten it out so we've got some room for our head and the whip finish. Okay, I think that's going to be fine right there. Let's see if we can get a 4-turn whip finish on without trapping any of these hackle fibers. And I think we did. Let's slide our scissors up in here and then just kind of saw that off right there. And there we go. A black Coachman. Not a whole lot of cleanup on this one. I'm going to be fine with it. Drop of head cement and this guy's done. So that's it, everybody. I appreciate you watching. Y'all take care and we'll see you next time.